The world thinks it knows Cristiano Ronaldo. They see perfection. They see a man carved out of discipline and gold. Private jet, packed stadiums, 5 Ballon d'Or, a body that refuses to age, and a brand that never sleeps. To them, he isn't human. He's a machine. But machines don't scream in the 90th minute when they're already winning. Machines don't demand more when the job is already done.
But if you look closely at his face during the 90th minute of a game he's already winning, when he's still screaming at his teammates for one more pass, when his veins are popping and his eyes are wild, you aren't seeing a man playing for a trophy. You are seeing a 12-year-old boy who is still terrified of going back to the hunger. Cristiano Ronaldo's story isn't a fairy tale, it's a war. It's the story of a boy who was almost never born, a son who never really knew his father, and a man who turned his deepest insecurities into a suit of armor. Most people want to be him, but very few could survive being him. Because to be Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to be willing to kill the version of yourself that wants to rest. It begins in 1984, in a kitchen where the floor is cold and the cabinets are empty. Maria Dolores Aveiro is sitting at a table, her head in her hands. She is already a mother of 3. Her husband is a gardener who drinks more than he earns. They live in a tiny house with a tin roof that rattles every time the Atlantic wind blows through the cracks in the walls. When Dolores finds out she is pregnant with her 4th child, she doesn't feel joy, she feels panic. She goes to the local doctor and begs for an abortion. "I cannot feed another mouth," she says. The doctor refuses. Desperate, Dolores returns home and tries a folk recipe. She drinks warm black beer. She runs until her heart feels like it's going to explode, and she collapses on the floor, hoping her body will reject the life inside her. But the baby didn't leave. He clung to the walls of the womb with the same ferocity he would later use to cling to the top of the world. When he was finally born, he was named after Ronald Reagan, his father's favorite actor. But in those early years, he was just a crybaby. He was the kid who cleaned the streets of Funchal with his mother for a few extra cents. He was the kid who stood outside a McDonald's next to the stadium where his father worked as a kit man, knocking on the back door and asking the girls, Edna and 2 others, if there were any leftover burgers. He wasn't the chosen one. He was the unwanted one, and that is the first secret to his greatness. He spent his entire life trying to prove to his mother that he was a blessing, not a burden. Every superhero needs a villain, but Cristiano's villain wasn't a person, it was a bottle. His father, José Denis Aveiro, was a man who had seen things no man should see. He was a soldier sent to the brutal wars in Angola and Mozambique. In the searing heat of the African sun, there was no clean water. The soldiers were given beer to stay hydrated. For Denis, that beer became a survival mechanism that turned into a cage. When he returned to Madeira, he was a ghost. He worked as a kit man for Andorinha, the local club. He would watch his son play, but he was rarely there. Cristiano remembers the smell of alcohol on his breath, the shaking hands, and the silence. "I never really knew my father 100%, Ronaldo once confessed with tears in his eyes. "I never had a normal conversation with him." Denis died of liver failure in 2005, just as Cristiano was becoming a star at Manchester United. He never saw the Champions League titles. He never saw the 5 Ballon d'Ors. He never saw the billionaire his son became. This is the unseen battle. Cristiano didn't just want to be a great footballer, he wanted to be the opposite of his father's tragedy. He became a teetotaler. He refused to touch a drop of alcohol because he saw it destroy the man he was supposed to look up to. He became a man of iron because he was raised by a man of glass. There is a legend in Madeira about a match that changed everything. Cristiano was playing for a local youth team. A scout from a big academy was in the stands. He told the boys, "Whoever scores the most goals today gets the spot in the academy." Cristiano and his best friend, Albert Fantrau, were the 2 best players. They won the game 3-0. Cristiano scored the first. Albert scored the second with a beautiful header. Then came the third goal. Albert went one-on-one with the keeper. He rounded him. The goal was wide open. All he had to do was tap it in. But instead, he looked to his side, saw Cristiano running, and passed the ball. Cristiano scored. Cristiano got the spot. Years later, journalists found Albert. He was living in a mansion, driving a luxury car, despite being unemployed. They asked him, "Why did you pass that ball? You could have been the star." Albert replied simply, "Because Cristiano was better than me." When asked how he has such a life now, Albert smiled and said, "It's all from Cristiano." This is why Ronaldo is so fiercely loyal. He knows that his path was paved by the sacrifices of others, by a mother who chose to keep him and a friend who chose to let him lead. He carries the weight of their dreams on his shoulders every time he steps onto the pitch. At 12 years old, Cristiano left Madeira for Lisbon. It was a 600-mile journey that felt like moving to another planet. In the Sporting CP Academy, he was an outsider. He spoke with a thick rural Madeiran accent that the city boys mocked relentlessly. They called him the peasant. They laughed at his shoes. One day, a teacher joined in on the teasing. Cristiano, a boy with a heart full of fire and a pride that wouldn't bend, didn't cry. He picked up his chair and threw it at the teacher. He was expelled. He was lonely. He would sob into his pillow every night, calling his mother and begging to come home. But then the morning would come, and he would go to the gym. At 15, his heart almost ended it all. Doctors found he had tachycardia. His heart would race uncontrollably even when he wasn't running. It was a death sentence for an athlete. His mother thought he'd have to give up, but Cristiano looked at the doctors and said, "Fix it." He had laser surgery in the morning. He was out of the hospital by the afternoon, and 3 days later, he was back on the training pitch. He wasn't just training to be good, he was training to be undeniable. He used to sneak out of the dorms at night to lift weights. When the coaches caught him and locked the gym, he filled buckets with water and used them as dumbbells in the shower. He strapped weights to his ankles and raced cars in the street to get faster. He didn't have a childhood, he had a forge. In 2003, a skinny teenager with highlights in his hair and braces on his teeth stepped onto the pitch for Manchester United. He was a show pony. He did too many stepovers. He fell over too easily. The English press hated him. Then came 2006, the World Cup, Portugal versus England. Wayne Rooney, his own teammate, gets a red card. Cristiano winks at the bench. The next day, he was the most hated man in Great Britain. They burned his effigy in the streets. They sent him death threats. Every stadium he visited for the next year booed him until their throats were raw. Most 21-year-olds would have crumbled. They would have asked for a transfer to Spain or Italy to escape the noise. But this is the boy who survived an abortion and heart surgery. He looked at the hate and he smiled. Sir Alex Ferguson told him, "Don't let them see you're hurt. Use it." Ronaldo spent that summer in the gym. He returned to the Premier League transformed. He wasn't a boy anymore. He was a machine. He stopped doing the tricks and started doing the damage. He realized that if he couldn't be loved, he would be feared. He turned the booze into his fuel. That season, he didn't just play, he dominated. He won the league, the Ballon d'Or, and the Champions League. He proved that the world's opinion of you is a lie if you have a high enough standard for yourself. While the world was arguing about whether he or Messi was the GOAT, Cristiano was fighting another unseen battle at home. His older brother, Hugo, was falling down the same dark hole their father had disappeared into. Hugo was addicted to drugs and alcohol. He was stealing from the house to fund his habits. The cycle of the Aveiro men was repeating. In 2014, before the Champions League final, Cristiano made a pact. He told Hugo, "If I win the Champions League, you have to promise to go to rehab and never touch a drink again." That night, Real Madrid won La Decima. In the middle of the celebration, on the pitch in Lisbon, Cristiano ran to the stands, found Hugo, and hugged him. He whispered in his ear, "Now it's your turn." Cristiano paid for the treatment. He gave Hugo a job managing the CR7 museum. Today, Hugo is sober. This is the side of Ronaldo the cameras don't show. He isn't just a goal scorer. He is the pillar that holds his entire family up. He didn't just save himself from the slums. He dragged his entire bloodline out with him. He is the man who broke the curse. Cristiano Ronaldo is now nearly 40. He's playing in Saudi Arabia, still obsessed with every meal, every nap, and every sprint. People say he's finished. They mock his tears when he misses a penalty. They call him arrogant, but they don't understand. Ronaldo isn't arrogant because he thinks he's better than you. He's arrogant because he knows what he had to sacrifice to become the man he is. He knows the salt of the Madeira wind. He knows the hunger in his stomach. He knows the sound of a father who couldn't speak. If you are watching this right now and you feel like the world is against you, if you feel like you weren't meant to succeed, if you are carrying the weight of a family that is broken, look at the boy from the tin roof house. Your struggle is not your anchor, it is your engine.
And here is the part they don't tell you. The part that doesn't fit neatly into highlight reels or trophy cabinets. Because after the goals, after the records, after the nights when the stadium roars your name like a prayer, there is silence. There are mornings when your body aches in places no one can see, when the ice baths feel colder, when the sprint feels half a second slower, when the mirror starts asking questions your mind doesn't want to answer. How much longer? This is the final opponent, not a defender, not a rival, not even time. It's identity. Because when you've built your entire existence on being the best, what happens when you're not? Most players fade quietly. They accept the slow dimming of the light. They trade hunger for comfort. They become memories while they're still alive. But Cristiano was never built for quiet endings. So he adapts. He trains harder than the kids trying to replace him. He studies his body like a scientist. Every calorie is calculated. Every movement is intentional. He turns recovery into ritual. Sleep becomes strategy. Discipline becomes religion. Not because it's easy, because it's the only way he knows how to live. There's a moment, late in the game, long after the outcome is decided. The cameras usually miss it. A loose ball rolls into space. No defender is pressing. No glory is waiting. And still, he sprints. Not for the crowd, not for the coach, not for the record. For the boy. The one in the cold kitchen. The one knocking on the back door for leftovers. The one who refused to disappear. That boy never left. He's still there, whispering, "Don't slow down." And maybe that's the real secret. It's not talent, it's not genetics, it's not even ambition. It's memory. The kind you can't escape, the kind that burns, the kind that turns rest into guilt and effort into oxygen. So if you're waiting for the perfect moment, if you're hoping one day you'll feel ready, if you think greatness comes when fear disappears, you've misunderstood the story. Fear never leaves. Doubt never dies. The difference is what you do with it. You can let it chain you, or you can let it chase you. Cristiano chose to run. Not once, not when it was convenient, but every single day. Even now. So when the world tells you to slow down, when your body asks for comfort, when your mind offers you an excuse, remember this. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be relentless. Because in the end, greatness isn't about beating everyone else. It's about refusing, day after day, moment after moment, to lose to the version of yourself that wants to quit.